The Pupil. The Pupil shifted her alchimera, but the winds of the north were clever and found their way in. The structure of her alchimera was unique to her, as it would be for any pupil. Let's start from the outside in. Evidence of mastery, protective bulwark, a trophy of her defeated foes. It really was a little bit of everything. It was also a statement piece, with an unnerving, asymmetrical silhouette. Threaded antlers enfolded her chest, their fingers about her in a sort of grisly, perpetual hug. To these were affixed more bones yet. Lichen was spreading on them, and she saw no harm in it. It was simply engaging in another kind of work, parallel to her own. One day, its light might be bright enough to read by. Her shoulders were cloaked with moss and living soil. It hung heavy from the frame, but the frame knew its task and used its strength in her service. It was dotted with small mushrooms, turquoise and white, and as she walked, she grabbed one and popped it in her mouth. She hadn't needed to eat, properly eat, for a while. It had been so long. It was more like a hobby now, with its little delights and novelties. Her research has brought her to the icebound realm of the Ever-King, though her alchimera would guard her presence there just as it did her body. That was only the start of her problems. The toil of a given quest operates in a ratio between the scale of the vision to be achieved and the talent plus experience of the one making the attempt. And she wants to know everything. So, as quests go, this one was always going to be a little thorny. We should establish early on, as soon as we possibly can, who the pupil is a pupil of. The answer is easy, but there are a few caveats. She is a pupil of the engineer. She has never met the engineer. No Rotborn pupil has, and it's entirely possible that nothing now living ever breathed the same air as the engineer. That is the first of our caveats, as there may be one among the deathless, skeletal warriors of the gloaming who might have known her. It would be difficult to find out for a variety of reasons. The engineer was a woman, is now an idea, and that's about all any pupil can agree on. If you have heard of the Automatrix, Molder Queen, or the Scintillato, those are all just other different names for the engineer. If you invited all of them to a party, it would just be you and her. Her contributions can be herded largely into two categories, the foretelling and the mastery of alchemy. The foretelling hardly requires much explanation, for we live now within the clutched hands of this prophecy. What she suggested is that the things would be just as they turned out in this age. The sun is burning out. The operation of this world, its functioning, is based upon a solar regime. Those who will survive, those who will win, will be those who can make their home within an everlasting night. And if the foretelling sets the stage, then alchemy is the script. It is an eminently practical discipline, oriented toward a people surrounded by decay, snatching at the last rays of light. A plan for living in death. A philosophy of rot. While the refractory revered a sun that was as good as gone, and the shard-sworn played with their rock collections, here was a useful method for addressing the question of entropy, and it can be communicated simply. If you can't beat 'em, and you absolutely cannot beat the arrayed and eternal forces of entropy, join 'em. What it looks like in practice is the extraction of an emerald liquor from that which lives, or has once lived, the irreducible stuff of existence. Indeed, she is doing it now. It is why she is here. The supplies these labors require are readily available. Like ants, the ragged skeletons of the gloaming creep and shuffle among the icy drifts and whirls. She wonders if they follow some path, perhaps one etched beneath the snow, or if they simply roamed from place to place, scouring as they went. She bears them no ill will, but she cannot let them endure. Their upper phyla do not shuffle and graze like these dumb beasts. These masses are something like a tool for them to be used or discarded as they like. This little cadre was cut off in some retreat, perhaps, and their numbers are so plentiful. To become bone is, after all, something of a universal destiny, that they are spent or dropped and discarded. They are as copper coins to a rich man. They barely warrant stooping over to pick up. Besides, her alchimera was hungry, and so it must feed. It is as though her attention has attracted theirs, some inkling of awareness on their part, some portion of their ruler's will, or merely self-preservation. Her antler shell begins to writhe and clack against itself, rustling, building fervor. Its fingers and claws open in this unseemly dance, all the more strange for the utterly still pupil nestled within. Now, the facts of its internal manufacture are plain. If we could believe her witchly attire were simply a raiment before, the lie has evaporated. The same emerald liquor flows through her own body, pushing in gouts and spurts. The branches, horn, and roots go right through. They are a single thing. The pupil, despite what the silhouette of her mythic attire might attest, is a wisp. Small, a bit of fishing line tangled into a net is all. But she lifts, ever so gently, from the ground. Because she is a stubborn and defiant pupil, she is determined to interrogate settled law. She longs to dig up a buried hatchet. She is obsessed with the remainder. The conversion of that which lives or has once lived is not a one-to-one process. Oh, there have been improvements, jealously guarded by this pupil or that. Many such refinements take on the air of a hushed secret and live only as long as they do. There is always some inefficiency, the tar, which is the more alchemical way of referring to the remainder. The perilous exhaust of the process. It's important to understand it, and it's important to minimize it if possible, because if the foretelling is correct, and its certainty is proven daily, then alchemy will not merely be the superior way to live, as it is now. It will be the only way. For her, the remainder is as much a philosophical problem as it is an alchemical one. If they serve the engineer, which they do, and the engineer could not engineer away this toxic fraction, clearly she could not, then was she truly deserving of her cultic status, worthy of what amounts to worship? Now we have a new angle on all this. The pupil wants to have her cake and eat it too, though of course she doesn't eat cake. She would simply like to have 2 cakes. Instead of an indictment on the engineer, what if it was evidence that she was cooler than anyone knew? What if it had been left for her eldritch progeny to suss out, left there for a reason? A present, a trap, a lesson, a warning? She is the first pupil to consider this possibility. The rattle of bones has drawn the horde close now. They have left aside their trinkets and treasures, the shrapnel of civilization, its shields and tools, pored over with sockets whose eyes had long since flown the coop or touched gently with the curious bones of their fingers. The incoherent reverie is over, and now they must find what is making the sound and stop it from making the sound. They will be unable to do so. The main reason is that as her alchimera shudders, straining and stretching open like a ribcage, lances of jade light harden into vicious spears which strike bewildered skeletons straight through the sternum. And when they strike, they erupt in a shredding conical blast of wicked glass that pulverizes the next rank as though by accident. This is just what's going on now. A natural phenomenon is occurring that seems to cull and excise her foes from existence. She is like a dark season that has somehow fallen upon this place. For their part, though they can't truly contain this feeling, the hanging jaws here and there make the skeletons look surprised. Green bursts of airborne crystal are already performing their labor, drawing that which lives or has lived into itself, the little cells and facets of their formulae growing fat. There are some legs over there that are still walking, but a pair of legs is situated below her threat hierarchy, and besides, there isn't much juice in them anyway. They would find a corner somewhere eventually, and they just bump and scrape that way for the next 100 years. Her alchimera shivers, unfurled at its widest maw. Together, they inhale. The first thing you learn when drawing like this was to shunt the remainder away. It was easy to rout into another foe, kind of a two birds, one stone sort of thing. Drawing it into yourself and leaving it there was a good way to lose a trachea. So, of course, she gives all of the emerald liquor to her alchimera, which has served her so well, and takes all of the tar into herself. She wants to know it, to know what it is. I said before that pupils only agree that the engineer was a woman is now an idea. There is one more thing, and it's such a universal that it didn't bear mentioning, to never, ever draw the tar. The pupil is discovering why. All around her lay the stuff of her mysterious cloak, flopping and wriggling like fish. It had come apart utterly, and its protection had gone from her completely. Her breath was ragged in the little hollow the snow had made when she fell, and she coughed up unctuous filth for longer than seemed possible. But there was more. There was always more. She felt the anger of these northern winds now, truly, heard their throat. When death came for her, cold and then with the heat of a brand, the pupil experiences it like a blanket being drawn up over the world. The darkness was up to her chin, and then it was up over her head. "Said Grenier," said the voice beyond death. The pupil did not stir, and waited for sleep to come. "Loban Fayed." So far, she thinks, death is pretty annoying. "Who are you?" says the voice now. Frustrated, impatient, and this accent, sturdy and practical, angular. You could live in this accent. Someone is trying to talk to the pupil, and she just now understands. She sits up fast here in the inky no place and responds in the customary way. "I am a pupil of rot, a student of decay, a degenerator." Yes, don't stand on ceremony." "And the sun?" asks the voice. "Does it? Is there a—" "What is left shines as well as it can," says the pupil. There was a long pause. Everyone has a lot to think about. "Death is different than I thought," says the pupil. "There is much more talking." "Oh, this is not death," says the voice. "This is a place of my own manufacture, though you must pass through death briefly to come here. A little detour. But that is what is required to defeat time." You can almost hear the shrug. "You found the door. It was a mean trick, but that is a credit to you." The pupil finally gets around to it. "What is your name?" "Ah, but I have more than one. They have fallen away over the years like so many leaves. Now I am what I do," she says. "I am the engineer." "Visit again," says the voice. "And for longer, child. We have much to discuss." Morning blooms, and death recedes. She was there, somehow. She was there, in the tar. But it wasn't tar, was it? Not really. It was not a failure on her part that she could not alter the ratio. It was no mere remainder. It wasn't about whether she had forgotten to carry the one. It was not a void, some alienation, some fault of the sacred whole. The engineer had written herself directly into her strange arts. The pupil would need more of this poison, much more than she's ever drawn. She may have to kill a god to do it, kill it and parse its remainder, but gods were in ready supply here at the end of the world. Her pupil would make it so. And then she would know everything.